Mr. Weidman, we're ready to go live. Okay, we are live.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. This is the Community Consolidated School District 46 Board of Education meeting for Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. We are in a hybrid format with a couple of members on site at Frederick School at 595 Frederick Road. The governor of Illinois has declared a COVID-19 disaster declaration. Currently remains in full force and effect. An in-person meeting is not practical or prudent this evening because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I have confirmed that all board members are participating in the meeting participating in this meeting can hear one another and can hear all discussions. We have arranged for members of the public to be contemporaneously hear all discussions during tonight's meeting. And Dr. Stephen Mack and Christy Braden are on site at 595 Frederick Road for our regular meeting. All votes will be taken by roll call tonight. And as required by the Open Meetings Act, a verbatim recording of tonight's open session meeting will be kept and made available to the public on the district website. We do have a Google Doc on the website for public comment for them to for members of the public to be able to write a public comment to us. With that being said, can I get a call to order, please, and a roll call?
Weidman.
Here.
Mack.
Here.
Braden. Here. LaCroix.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Nash.
Here.
And Strack.
Here.
Okay, that establishes a quorum. Next will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Mack, when you guys are ready, if you want to start it off over there. Okay, next we need approval for the agenda.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Miller.
Okay,
Aye.
Strack.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Weidman.
aye.
Braden. Aye. LaCroix.
Aye.
And Nash.
Hi.
Okay, next is public comments. We'll first see if there's anybody on site for any public comments. I see some shaking heads no. Okay. Next will be the summer school presentation.
We're getting the document up, ready to get presented. This is Paul Lewis,
Okay.
Assistant Superintendent. I'm going to be talking about summer school tonight. And we're off. We're ready to get going here. I'm ready to get ready to go. You might see that up there that we have my colleague's name up there, Miss Woodruff. She was scheduled to be here tonight, but due to some family issues tonight with a sick child, she's not able to be here. So I'm going to be doing this by myself, but I'm ready to share all this information. So thank you for giving us me the opportunity to talk about our summer school program. And here we go. Our summer school program on the next slide. Our summer school program is going to involve 4 separate entities that we're going to go into much more detail as the presentation goes on, but just wanted to share a little bit. Our focus this year for summer school is really based on the state's recommendation about addressing unfinished learning. So we're looking for an opportunity to be able to provide time and support for our students who may need some additional time for unfinished learning based on our school year that we've had. So our 4 programs, the first one is a Title I program. We have historically had a summer school program for Title I students in the past for our students at Avon. This year we have made a decision to expand our Title I summer school program to also include our other Title I school, Prairie View. So we'll be expanding our Title I summer school program, and that's for our K-4 students at Avon and Prairie View. We also will be continuing our program called Adelante, our summer school program for our EC, early childhood kids all the way through 8th grade, who are identified as EL or bilingual students. The third program, which is a new one for us to share, is we're calling it the Summer Bridge program, and that's for our kindergarten through 7th grade students. This is really our program to help identify a time and a space for identified students for unfinished learning. So we'll be talking a little bit more about the Summer Bridge program. And then our last program, certainly not the least program though, is a continuation. We offer an extended school year program for identified students across our whole district that would benefit from more time over the summer based on their individual educational plan and the team decision. So again, all 4 of these programs are for identified students and for invited students to participate in summer school. I wanted to share a little bit more though, that we are going to be using either grant funds or our ESSER funds to be able to afford and to pay for these programs. So the Title I will of course be from Title I grants. The Adelante will be from Title III generally. The Summer Bridge program would strictly be coming out of ESSER funds, ESSER II funds, and the extended school year is part of the IDEA special education grants. So the next slide is going to share a little bit about the identification process. I shared that this is an invitation-only program, and so we're looking to identify students for the summer program based on a few of the recommendations from the state. These include engagement or attendance concerns. So we are hoping to engage, pardon the pun there, but our students a little bit more over the summer who may have struggled during the school year for attendance or engagement. We also want to look at our report card grades. How are the students, how have they been doing? Are there areas that need additional focus? We also want to look at assessment data. A little bit later, I'm going to be sharing, as part of the superintendent's report, I'm going to be sharing our plan to have a spring MAP assessment. So many of you know NWEA MAP. So we want to use that data that we'll be collecting to help us identify students who would benefit. And then of course we want to have our teachers involved too. So teachers will be looking for recommendations for inviting students. For some of the programs, we'll be also looking at additional criteria. This additional criteria will include the identification process for EL and bilingual students enrolled at a Title I school, and then information from an IEP team. One of the things that we wanted to look very closely at, though, is about potential resources. We wanted to make sure that our students and staff had appropriate resources for our summer school program. Sometimes in the past, our summer school program has been more of focus on enrichment, and so we are looking this year to be definitely more focused on academics. So we've had some new materials that you'll see later on the agenda that we're hoping for consideration. and some continuing resources. So I'm going to speak first about K-8 literacy. So we have found a program from Scholastic called Lit Camp, and so it's going to provide a slew of reading materials for each grade level for our students and teachers to be able to use. And the good thing is that they are meant to be used in small group, whole group, all kinds of different ways for instruction and independent reading. So we think that these will be very, very worthwhile. This Lit Camp materials are also available in Spanish so that our bilingual students will be able to have some resources for this as well. And these resources will be used for Title I, Adelante, and Summer Bridges. We'll make them available to our ESY teachers as well if that would be beneficial to them. We also would like our students to continue to use a program that Avon and Prairie View already have as part of Title I funding. It's called Lexia. We're finding good success and would like to continue to use that. And Amplify Reading is available to all the other schools in the district. And Raz Kids is something that we use for our K-4 students. So you may realize that the Lit Camp is all going to be paper-based. And we also want to be able to have an opportunity to use some of our technology as well. But the focus of instruction will be not on the computer. It will be a paper-based experience for many of the programs. So we're excited about the possibility of some new resources for literacy. These will be a greatly appreciated resource for our teachers to help them with their planning, and so that they can focus specifically on the Common Core standards or the areas of need for each of the students. The other resource that we want to look at is some math resources. Our summer school programs are going to greatly focus on literacy and numeracy, so reading and math. So we have identified a program for K-8 students called Sadlier, and the program is called Math Progress Materials. We're very excited about it because it is very much Common Core aligned. It has all of the main areas of each grade level, so grade level specific. It also will be paper-based, so it won't be digital. We think that will be a positive change for students for the summer. The materials provide, as it says, guided instruction materials, guided practice, and independent practice. As well, it does have some digital assessment tools that will be taken care of. The good thing is that this is not a program that's meant to be used page by page. It's meant to identify where the kids need the support and then use the resources appropriately. As always, we have other district resources that we want to continue to use. So our 6th through 8th grade students may be continuing to use Mathia. We also will want to continue to use some of our digital math resources. We also are going to be we are going to be using a program called Go Math for our early childhood through 2nd grade students. Go Math is our program that's in Spanish. Our math choice that we made for Sadler Math does not come in Spanish. So working with the EL director, it was decided that that would be a continuation from prior years to use Go Math in Spanish. And then as part of the Title I schools, they also have a program called Success Maker. It's an individualized math support system. And we'll be encouraging the Title I school, summer school, to use those as well. So more specific information about the 4 programs. So the first one, again, is Title I Summer School. Again, this is for identified students at Avon and Prairie View School. While we're really going to be pushing and encouraging an on-site experience, we will be evaluating the number of students who request a remote to determine if we're able to make that happen. So we are really pushing and encouraging because we know having the students in front of us can be helpful to some of the kids, especially due to engagement issues. So this program this year will be housed at Avon School. It will be June 7th to July 1st. We're a summer school program. We typically run Monday through Thursday. For title program, it's 8 to 11 a.m. There are no tuition costs, and we will make transportation available for all students. Again, all of the funding for this would be based on our Title I and ESSER funds. In the corner, I also added all of the identification processes again. So I met with all the principals today. We'll be working on teachers collecting data about students and creating a list to invite our students based on those identification processes. The next program is our Adelante summer school program. Again, we're looking at identifying students. So Dr. Diaz and her team are already working on identifying students who would benefit from the summer school program. Similar, but there are a few differences. This program will be at Frederick School, same weeks, June 7th to July 1st, Monday through Thursday. This one is from 9 a.m. to noon. Again, no tuition costs, and will provide transportation. You may notice that those times are different between those two programs. This will allow us to have paired buses so that we can be very cost effective of running some buses for the Title I program, then have them pick up students for the Adelante program, and then reverse it on the way home so that we can get the most out of our bus transportation costs. So I'm excited about that. Again, students will be identified by the EL and bilingual status, a most recent access score, and of course, teacher recommendations. This one, again, funded through Title III, and if the Title III funds run out, we'll be able to supplement from the ESSER II funds. The next program, again, is about the Summer Bridge program. We're making this available to identified students from Meadowview, Woodview, Frederick, GMS, and Park. You'll notice that those are not the Title II schools. And so, again, these will go on the same time frame as the Adelante program. Frederick School, June 7th to July 1st, Monday to Thursday, 9 to noon. We combined the Adelante and the Summer Bridge program in the same building, same times, because the buses will become generally from the same regions across our district. So we were trying to be as efficient with our busing and our groupings of students as possible. And again, no tuition costs, free transportation, and paid through from ESSER II funding. And again, we have an identification process that we were working through even today. One of the things I wanted to point out about the differences too, in our Title I program, our students are going to be able to take home a slew of books to be kept in their home for a home library. So Title I programming is something usually above and beyond what other programming is. And so to go above and beyond, for our K-4 students, we'll be sending home approximately 20 new books for the summer school program that they may read during summer school or just will be able to have extra books available at home. The upper grades are less because they're longer. So it won't be 20 books for the upper grades, but it'll still be a good number. I think it's 10 or 12. So that will be a nice addition for our title students to have books being sent home for them to be able to use. Again, just in order, not of importance, the last program is about our extended school year. My colleague Heather Lorenzo is fully in charge of this with her amazing team. This one is a little bit different because it's going to be at Prairie View School, mostly because a lot of the equipment that will be easier to not have to be moved out of Prairie View School for some of our early childhood programming that we'll be doing. This one is June 7th to July 1st as well, but you'll notice that it's Monday through Friday. For this program, we have to follow some state guidelines, and we have to have a certain number of days and actually a certain number of minutes. And so you'll see that their timing is actually a little bit different too. So 8 in the morning till 11:15. There are still, again, no tuition costs, free transportation. The identification process is all about the IEP team meeting with parents for discussion, and then data representing regression or recoupment concerns over long breaks. I apologize for that. So you can see that we are going to have a wide range of summer school options for students. Again, the focus should be about unfinished learning, and the whole concept of our ESSER funds and our title funds will be really useful in being able to pay for this. At this time, we are not expecting any district funds to be used for any of our summer school programs. We have a few more things still to be determined. We haven't sent out the invitations to students and their families yet, so we have had a number of staff apply for the positions, but we haven't made any final decisions about staffing, and so that'll be a work in progress. And then one of the things we want to provide is nursing support in each of our buildings that we have a program for. And so we still have to make some decisions about nursing and how to staff that. Nurses, as you know, at this moment are very difficult to secure and to maintain. So we're making sure that we're looking ahead for that. So we may be hiring within or looking at some contractual services to support nursing. We wanted to share again about funding sources because it's always important for us to consider. So the funds for our summer school programs, as I've emphasized a couple of times, for staffing, busing, materials are as followed. So Title I will be surely from Title I grant and ESSER II funds if needed, if we go over our allotment. Adelante would be Title III and our ESSER II funds. So summer bridge program would be ESSER II funds, and then extended school year would be IDEA funds. And I also am sure if they go over, we would be using ESSER II funds to support that as well. So it's not on the slide, but I don't want to leave them out if there's a need for how to cover all of these things. So, I was talking fast. We're to the last slide. It's all about questions. I'm certainly glad to respond to any questions about our summer school program, but we've been hard at work trying to find best ways to meet our students' needs for the summer. You will have noticed, I'm going to address it, that we are not planning on any enrichment opportunities, partly because we need a lot of staff to help us with unfinished learning, and that needs to be our focus. That also doesn't really qualify in all aspects from ESSER II funds for unfinished learning to deal with that. This is no way to indicate that we don't want to return to an enrichment option in the future, but this year it was determined that we really do need to focus on our students who have some learning opportunities to fill. I'm ready for any questions, though.
Paul, thank you so much for this. This is Christy. I don't know if you can see me in your screen. I have a question about, you talked about enrichment. It sounded like there was a desire for more, but just not possible with the capacity that we have right now. I wonder if there's opportunity at the library. Like, are there certain books or materials that if the library made available, that could be a resource that families could reach out to if they want to pursue enrichment on their own? Is that something that would be useful?
I will be glad to reach out to, I was getting an echo, sorry. I'm glad to reach out to the library. We have been, I've been personally very connected with Courtney Doninger at the library. She's the outreach specialist. So I'm very confident that we can talk that through. For enrichment, we will also make available all of the summer work that we made last year for opportunities for kids to do additional things with summer school over the summer. So we did have a pretty extensive website page for every grade level band, so we can make those things, we will continue to make those things available for summer as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Dr. Lewis?
Well, I don't have a question.
Okay, I don't have a question for Mr. Lewis, but just a comment. I really want to thank you, Mr. Lewis, and Mrs. Woodruff, and really all of our administrators who have been a part of planning summer programming. That's also Dr. Diaz, Mrs. Lorenzo, and all members of the support staff involved in that, as well as our principals, because this was a pretty heavy lift in a short period of time. I'm pretty sure, and tell me if I'm right about this, Paul, this was a lot more information than our board has received in the past about summer before it happens, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
the purpose for that was we wanted to, there's some need and there's some funds that are associated, and we wanted to make sure that our board and our public was aware that we are rightfully spending the money to plan things for our students who would benefit from them.
Yeah.
Not saying that all the other years we didn't do those things, but it is a different year.
This is a very different summer with a much different emphasis. Many questions all year long about what can we do for our students in the summer. So we wanted to give you as much information as possible. So thank you for doing that.
Dr. Glickman,
Uh-oh.
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tamika. You're good.
Okay. I had a question for Mr. Lewis, and the presentation may have cut out on me a little bit, but can you just speak to, you touched on a little bit about doing map testing or having the teachers kind of do some type of summer assessment, as it pertains to math. Can you expand on that or clarify that a little bit more? I know that, with this atypical year we've had, the students didn't have the standardized state tests like they normally would have. And I feel like I heard you touch on it a little bit, but I may have missed the full breadth of what you were sharing.
You're previewing a little bit. Dr. Glickman is giving me the go-ahead to talk about some of the other assessments that were going to be part of the superintendent's report. So I'll start with MAP. I wasn't going to start with MAP, but because the question is about MAP. As an administrative team, we decided, since a majority of our students will be returning, and we've also learned greatly from other school districts who've done MAP testing with remote students. We feel comfortable and think it's an important step for us to have all of our students in 1st through 7th grade take a MAP assessment, and we're targeting April 26th and 27th for students to take a MAP test in grades 1 through 7. We're purposely saying 1 because we feel like our kindergarten students, we would just like them to keep working and not spending the time for an assessment. And next year we'll have them assessed as 1st graders. We think that's a better use of their time. And our 7th graders is the max, except that we're going to be inviting any of our 8th grade students who feel like they would like that data to help support any petitions they have to modify their high school placement. You may not be aware of that, but we have historically not tested our 8th grade students with MAP because they already have received their high school placement. It's not the most rigorous experience, and so we have always invited our 8th grade students who would like more data to support their request for an additional level class at the high school. And our high school values that ability. So we are going to offer it as part of our 8th grade students as well. And so Mrs. Nash, some of the reasons that we thought we wanted to think about a MAP assessment was we don't have any official data as you shared for this school year. We'd like to have that. It will certainly help us, again, be another data point for summer school. So we'll be looking for certain percentiles of kids that for each of the tests, reading or math, to invite kids. We also know that the MAP test is very, very helpful for us placing our 4th grade students into the different levels of math available at 5th grade. So we think that that would be a helpful thing. We also know that starting the year with the data immediately will help us identify kids who may need immediate intervention and support and not have to wait for our data to come in a little bit later. And also our principals are excited to have that data because it is a data piece that they look at when they build class lists for next year to have a balanced classroom of abilities in each of their sections. So Mrs. Nash, did I answer your question about MAP testing?
Yes, that was excellent, Mr. Lewis. Thank you.
I didn't share with MAP. We will be providing a MAP experience for our remote-only students. And so we have learned from other school districts, which I think is really important, to figure out the tips and tricks of how to administer a remote test with MAP to our remote students. So when the students on site are taking the MAP test, the remote students will be taking it at the same time remotely. So we've already worked with our info specialists, all of our tech staff, to come up with a plan on how to make that work. So we're very confident about all of that. And the question also was about our state assessments. And so we have generally four state assessments that we're going to need to be working on. We had been waiting and hoping that the state was going to provide us a waiver, as they did last year. I think it's all of our intention that we would like to see students working on instructional purposes now that we have them back in the classroom and not assessment purposes. But at the moment, it's not an option for us not to participate. And so the Illinois Science Assessment is one of the assessments we typically do in the spring. The state has offered us all the way through next school year to test this group of students. We have chosen to test our students this year instead of doing it over the summer or into fall of next year. Illinois Science Assessment is scheduled for May 17th through the 21st, and that is for our students in 5th and 8th grade. And then our Illinois Assessment of Readiness is a test that we typically also do in the spring, but spread out a little bit more. We'll be shooting for May 20th through the 26th. You'll see a little bit of an overlap, and that overlap is really about makeups. But Illinois Assessment of Readiness from May 20th to 26th, and that is for our 3rd through 8th graders. There are multiple sessions in reading and math that are included. We'll be doing one assessment a day during those times, and we'll likely be running similar to what we do on a late start, so a late start schedule, where we'll delay the beginning of the school year until a little bit later in the morning, but then have a regular full day with shortened periods the rest of those days. I'm going to be clear and share that the state has not provided us any remote option for testing students. So we are in the process of working on communication for our parents who have fully remote students to invite them into our schools for the assessment. Part of our challenge, we're working on the details of all of that, finding locations in our busy schools. We're identifying spaces like the one we're in right now that will be able to assess our fully remote kids. We may be able to put them in their regular classrooms, but it'll all depend on room capacity and social distancing space. One of the things that I think it's important to publicly share, that the Illinois Science Assessments and the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, the state has shared with us that these results cannot be compared to any previous administration of this assessment, and they will not be comparable to any future administrations of these assessments. So this will be standalone assessment data for us to look at, but there will be no value in a long-range comparison of results. The good news is also that the state has acknowledged that there will be no change in our district ratings, remembering that 2 of our schools are listed as commendable and 5 of our schools are listed at, 2 of our schools are exemplary and 5 of our schools are listed as commendable. Our ratings will not be changing again, just like they didn't this year. They won't be changing again for next year. And so that's a good thing, that no matter what the results of the assessments, it's not changing it. And also the state, up until just recently, has been holding us to a 95% participation rate. So we historically have blown that number out. We typically have been close to 100% of our students participating, but they have said that no longer, for this one testing session window, that we won't be held to the 95% participation rate, because in the past, if you didn't meet the 95% participation, you were automatically dropped 1 rating level. And so that's a significant issue for us. And also, I'm just being truthful, the science assessment in the past had been 1 session for an hour, And this year, this science assessment for students in 5 through 8 is 3 sessions of an hour, and they did not reduce that or go back to the 1 hour session. So in my personal opinion, this was not the year to make more days of assessment or to make it more rigorous. But those are all the ideas and information that I have about state assessments. So there's going to be a communication going out to families early next week about all of this information. Our administrative team have been working all together to create this plan, to create the best assessment system that we can do to manage the state requirements. So that was part of the superintendent's report, but it certainly did fit into all of this. I'm glad to welcome questions about that now.
Paul, thanks again. This is Christy. I have just a question about assessments in general. Will there be an opportunity for students to have some sort of alternate assessment, if you will, like a portfolio or something for kids who have learned something that wouldn't be reflected in a standardized test? The only
Generally, our teachers work on those kind of things. And generally, at the end of the year, we've had things like portfolio day or portfolio sharing. Due to all of the other things we've chosen, we're not going to be having those, but the teachers are planning to share information about their students and their progress by the end of the school year. It will not look the same as we've done in the past. And again, that's not a change in our overall philosophy. We do value that and think that's important. Just this year, we're not able to bring in parents en masse to our buildings to have that experience.
makes sense. Thank you.
And Mr. Lewis, this is Tamika again. Mrs. Nash, just wanted to just thank you and Mrs. Woodruff for all the due diligence you put into this plan. You certainly were very forward-thinking and anticipated my 3rd, 4th, and 5th questions as well. So thank you so much for the due diligence and just the readiness for anticipating what it's going to mean for assessments going forward and getting through this unique period of time.
Thank you so much for that.
Are there any other questions from other board members? Mr. Weedman has stepped away for a call, so any other questions or comments from board members? All right. We can move on to board reports. Does any board member have a board report they would like to share? All right.
I have a board report, Stephen. If you want me to jump in, just
Sure.
an FYI, the Insurance Advisory Committee, which I think we're going to hear more about in a little bit, I wanted to just say thank you to our broker, Catherine Loney. I think Catherine's on the call too, but I can't see you, Catherine. Just very patient teacher. She and Mary did an amazing job breaking down a pretty complex set of issues into digestible chunks. So thank you to Catherine and thank you to Mary. And then, yeah, I'm just going to stop there. So thank you.
I have a quick report that might steal Dr. Glickman's thunder a little bit, because if you're going to update on strategic planning, and oh, it's not on? I'm not on at all? No. Mm-mm. Oh, they don't have power? Can I borrow?
I can speak this for you then.
All right.
We're switching to a different microphone here. 1 second.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to express my appreciation to everyone who participated in strategic planning. Just being a part of that process and seeing so many parents involved, seeing so many teachers giving up their evenings, and district leaders was phenomenal. The small group discussions were so productive and so forward-thinking, and it just makes me incredibly excited about what we can do when we can pick our heads up above the pandemic and really look out and think about the future. So for everyone who sat on those 3-hour calls, thank you so much. I know it's above and beyond, but I think it's going to make a huge difference for the district. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Braden. Any other board reports from any other member? All right, then Dr. Glickman, I'll hand it over to you for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Well, as you know, on Monday, April 12th, which is the upcoming Monday, we are beginning our full in-person learning program. We are very excited. In all, the families for 71% of our students have selected full in-person learning, and the other 29% of our students will continue with remote learning through the end of the school year. We were able to include all of the students whose families requested in-person learning for them. You may remember that we were hopeful that we'd be able to do that. We knew that we would be able to include all of the students who were in hybrid, and we hoped we could include the rest of the remote family students who requested it, and we were able to do so. So we're thrilled about that. As you know, we had a remote planning day, a planning day for our staff this past Monday. I can assure you that it was well used. I was able to get around to quite a few of the buildings, saw, rooms being organized, things happening that you often see at the very beginning of a school year, tags being made for desks, for the new students that were coming in. Many planning and procedures conversations happening as our staff continues to prepare for Monday. So it was a great day. I wanted to tag onto some of the information that Mr. Lewis gave regarding funding, and this is specific to ESSER 3 funding, although it's no longer being called ESSER 3. It's being called ESSER ARP for the American Rescue Plan. I'm just going to go backwards for a moment and remind you that this is the third group of ESSER funding that we've received. The first was the ESSER CARES Act. That funding we actually have until September 30th, 2022 to expend those funds, although they're pretty much expended. Most of that funding went towards our first installment for our Chromebooks. Then there was the ESSER 2, which is what Mr. Lewis was talking about. We'll be using that for a variety of purposes, but definitely including funding some of our summer programs. And those funds need to be expended by September 30th, 2023. And now we have the ESSER ARP, American Rescue Plan. You've all heard a bit about that. That's the largest amount of funding, so I wanted you to hear from me about it now. That is just over $2 million. To a number, it's $2,141,418. That needs to be expended by September 30th, 2024. And the grant is not even open yet. We can't apply for that money yet. We can't apply to, let the grant givers, let them know what we'd be doing with it until July 1st. They do require that 20% of that funding at least go toward learning loss. We do not yet have specific information as to what that will actually mean. We have certainly gotten the recommendation, though, that we should not spend the money on items that will generate ongoing costs past 2024, because this is not an ongoing grant. This will be money that we receive that has to be expended by a certain amount of time, and that's the end of it. So we can't create new programs and things that we'd be looking at continuing on past 2024, because then the funding would dry up. So I just wanted to give you that information, and definitely more to come regarding that. Board, I wanted just to bring up to you this wonderful equity learning opportunity we have this summer. I know I sent you some information about this, I think, early in the week. This is from Dr. Yvette Dubiel. She is the professional who will be working with our school district in the next year regarding our equity audit. And she is offering that our board members can attend a series called Equity, Anti-Bias, Anti-Racism Personal Development Series. It's 3 Saturday mornings in the summer. And at the moment, there are 4 of us signed up for, you may remember I told you there are kind of 2 cohorts. So Christy and Tamika and I are all signed up for June 5th, June 19th, and July 10th. There is another cohort on June 12th, June 26th, and July 17th. And so any board members who are not yet signed up, if you are intending to do so, please do let me know in the next week or so. And finally, I just wanted to comment that this is AP Dean Week, and we are really celebrating those folks who help our students make it through the day and really support the children, helping them make good decisions and helping them with all of their academic needs as well. So thank you to Mr. Gross, the assistant principal at GMS, Mr. Dinsmore, the assistant principal at Park, Mr. Goshi, the assistant principal at Frederick, and Ms. Basinger, the dean at GMS. And that is it for the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Glickman. That moves us to committee reports on the agenda, and tonight I have the Community Engagement Committee listed. Mrs. Miller, would you like to start off with that? And we can do that together.
Sure, yeah. You're going to talk about the food pantry, right?
You want me to start then? I'll start then.
Either way, I just didn't want to repeat. Yeah, you start. You go.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So just wanted to let everyone know that the seed distribution will start up. There's a soft opening, if you will, on Friday. So seeds will be available at GMS, and that coincides with the grab and go meal delivery. And as context, the Community Engagement Committee started distributing seeds last March to improve or provide an opportunity for any family that wanted to improve nutrition to be able to grow their own food. And then that extended to offering seedlings and then produce and then native seeds in the fall. So we're back to spring. We've had 1 year, and that will open up again. And let's see. So that's available then. So thanks again to the many volunteers who traded seeds and seedlings and produce all throughout last year. But what's exciting about this one is that many of the seeds that will be in the seed library starting Friday were actually harvested from the plants that were grown last spring. So there's sunflower seeds from Prairie View, there are lettuce seeds from Woodview as an example, and there's some others. So it's a closed loop system. So this time we're hoping to decrease our dependence on donations. So that's, again, available at the Little Seed Library and GMS for any family, but it also coincides with the grab and go delivery. And then, let's see. Oh, and Dare to Lead. I think I know I mentioned a few times that our Community Engagement Committee decided to pursue Dare to Lead training. It was 18 hours of emotional literacy as it relates to leadership, and 6 of our team members finished that just last week. So just hats off to them, because again, it's over and above what they signed up for. It included evening sessions and a Saturday session. And thanks to Katie Brandt, who was our facilitator. She was amazing. And if you haven't read Dare to Lead by Brene Brown and you're interested in emotional literacy, it was really a good experience. Now, and then Stephen, you're going to talk about the food drive, right?
Right, the food drive. We had the Avon Cares food drive that the Community Engagement Committee worked on back March 27th, March 28th. We had a food drive back in November as well, but these were the ones for the spring. And this serves the Avon Township Food Pantry that serves over 250 families in the community. And we want to have special thanks to everybody who contributed to collecting the food, to delivering it to the schools, drop-off points, or to homes where then it was delivered to the schools for them. And especially thanks to Patricia Baking, who's a member of the Community Engagement Committee, and she's affiliated with Park School for her leadership on this, and to Allison Koch for her communications work for the food drive. We extended drop-off points from 1 to 6 schools for this food drive, and to increase, accessibility and convenience for families. And then we had an increase of donations that filled 7 vans full of food instead of 5 vans full of food that were then delivered to the Avon Township Food Pantry. So thank you from us to everybody involved for that. That's a huge impact for our communities and continues to support food security at this time. So I think I got it all. Any other comments for anything else for committee reports? Mr. Weedman, you're back. Would you like me to hand it back over to you?
Sure, we're up to the consent agenda,
We
right?
are now at the consent agenda. I yield back to Mr. Weedman.
All right, sorry, hazards of being on the job. All right, so next is the consent agenda. I need an approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Braden,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye. Next is a motion to, or run out up to action items, sorry. So next is a motion to approve the student activity fees for the 2021-2022 school year. These are flat. We kept them flat with the exception of adding the technology fee for those grades that we had to add Chromebooks for this year, correct, Dr. Glickman?
Well, actually, those were the regular school fees, so you are remembering that, but these are actually the activity fees. These are extracurricular fees.
For the extracurriculars that we didn't have last year.
Correct.
Well, hopefully we get to have them this year.
We're looking forward to it. There are a few things going on, but yes, we're looking forward to a robust slate of activities next year.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve those student activity fees.
Second.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Strack.
Aye.
Okay, next we need a motion to approve the major impact form for summer school reading materials. Would you like
So
that?
moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay, any discussion we need on that? Paul, these are all just the summer readings for the kids right? For the summer bridge program and that?
Correct. So as I mentioned in the presentation, we're looking for new materials. These go over our threshold, so we needed a major impact form for that. But we're excited that we'll have these great resources for our summer school program. The Title I and the EL students will take home the books. For Summer Bridge, we'll be able to continue to use those in the future.
Okay,
LaCroy,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
And Nash.
Aye.
okay, it's the second one that we need to table, right, Mr. Wolk?
Yeah, that's correct. This next one is the one that needs to be tabled. I know I don't sound like Mr. Wolk.
No.
The,
Hold on.
The
The last item and action items needs to be tabled.
right, okay.
oh.
All right, so next we have a motion to approve a resolution for an honorable dismissal due to reduction in force.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Strack,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Nash,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye. All right, so as you heard briefly there, we need to table the last motion, the last action item. So I'll make a motion to table the resolution for non-renewal of a first, second, and third year probationary teacher.
I'll second.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Nash.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes our action items. Next is unfinished business, and we have one item on there, and that's legislative discussion follow-up, and Christy Braden will be talking about that.
Thanks, Mr. Weedman. I wanted to follow up on our initial discussion where we just talked about, what action we could take regarding legislative priorities. And I have three things that I just wanted to update. First, I sent out a Google Sheets template for just collecting. We started to brainstorm some of the issues at the last meeting, and I thought it would be great to just have a place where we could put them. I went through NASB, IASB, and EdRed and kind of pulled particularly some active legislation that I think we should pay attention to, but there's also just some bigger picture stuff that may not be a specific bill right now that I think we should capture to keep an eye on. So just wanted to invite the board members and then Dr. Glickman, whoever else you think would, like to contribute. Would love to have it all in one place. Not that we advocate on everything, but that just gives us the lay of the land in terms of what the scope is. And then maybe we can do some prioritization to think about what are the most important things for our district. And then, what is the stance that we want to take to advocate for with our legislators. So if you don't have that, let me know. I can resend it. But looking forward to seeing people's thoughts there. And then I did highlight in that document, there's two hot items that I wanted to just encourage action on by the board as well as, other district staff, members of the community. The first one is that EdRed is going to be encouraging all its members to advocate for a full funding of public education in the 2022 state budget. The governor has held EBF level in his recommendation. EdRed is going to advocate for $350 million additional for EBF to continue to, fully fund that model. And then also prioritizing funding for mandated categoricals. So they're going to come out with a toolkit for us very soon, but it's something that I think we should all be in touch with our legislators on to basically say, look, we've got to continue to make education a priority in this budget, even in a tough budget year. And then there's another bill that's going through the General Assembly right now, which basically says to districts, you've got to figure out some sort of consolidation, and it's like a mandated, act of, evaluating consolidation. And so the stance from EdRed and from IASB is that those decisions should be in the hands of individual districts. It's very complicated, especially with district maps not necessarily lining up, et cetera. So the recommendation is that we let our legislators know that we oppose HB 7 because it takes that control out of our hands. So that's two things that if you feel that that's important to you, please contact your legislators on. And then finally, I had the opportunity to speak informally to Melinda Bush, our state senator, and just let her know where we were headed with this kind of work. And she was really excited about it. She's looking forward to the dialogue. She's excited to hear more about how she can advocate for us and really be fully informed so that when she's in Springfield, she can speak for the schools in her constituency. So if everyone could just take a little bit of time to add your thoughts to the inventory, once we feel like we've got that, then I'll try to think about like what's a prioritization exercise we can do to kind of get it down to the things we really care about. So that's it. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Christy.
Christy, this looks fantastic. Thank you so much for putting this together.
You're very welcome. I'm excited about it too.
Okay, next we have is new business. The first part of new business is the pre-K tuition and transportation.
Yes, thank you. The board, as mentioned, has already approved two sets of fees. In February, the regular registration and technology fees, and then earlier tonight, the extracurricular and activity fees. What we're presenting to you here tonight is a third set of fees. I have worked with Heather Lorenzo and her team to aggregate this recommendation for you. This is a recommendation for the tuition and transportation fees for the tuition-based preschool program that the district hosts annually for students. I'd like to ask Heather if she has anything to add as far as description about this tuition in this program.
Just as a reminder, our EC program, Early Childhood Center program, offers programming to 3 groups of students, one including the tuition base that we are asking for discussion on the tuition fees this evening. The other 2 are the early childhood special education programming for students who are identified through evaluations for special education services. And then the last of that group are preschool for all students who are identified as at risk through screening, monthly screenings that we conduct. When we have opportunity and our enrollment numbers are feasible, we certainly want to broaden that to a tuition-based program for our community.
Are there any questions at this time?
I don't remember having fees for this. Is this a new program with fees, or are we raising them?
This is not a new program. However, my understanding is these tuition rates have not been presented to the board in the past. And I would suggest that it should be routine annually that these fees are presented to the board and considered by the board. The tuition rate suggested here is consistent with what we've charged in the past. I will also highlight that the option for transportation is new. So we'd like to offer that to parents for children if in fact we can accommodate there's space on the bus to accommodate these little kiddos, then we will collect a fee for that transportation service should we be able to accommodate their individual need. So that element of the program is new.
Okay, so we're not raising or changing the fees. We're just adding the busing if they want the busing.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for that. This is the first time I've seen this. That's why I asked. Anybody else have any other questions? No? Okay. Next is new business is the employee benefit plan.
Yes, thank you. I've just shared my screen for the presentation. Can everyone see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, great. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce a guest who's with us here tonight, Catherine Loney, who is Vice President Benefits Consulting with GCG, and she is the lead on our account and serves as our broker consultant for our employee benefit plan. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. As you know, the district provides an employee benefit plan, including medical, dental, life, and disability insurance. The district benefit plan year runs from July 1 through June 30th, and open enrollment takes place generally in the month of May each year prior to the benefit plan year beginning. The premium equivalent and premium renewal rates are presented to the Board of Education prior to open enrollment for the board's review and consideration. I'd like to highlight that this is the second year of the district's insurance committee, and the committee met 5 times this year. And with input from the committee, the administration is recommending 5 plan enhancements. These plan enhancements are recommended because they are perceived to be cost effective and to be a health benefit to plan participants. And I've outlined the first 3 on this slide, and the next 2 will be on the next slide. If we take a look at these 3, the Oncology Navigator is a program that provides assistance from members who are navigating cancer care. There is an administrative fee associated with this particular plan enhancement, and that is 65 cents per employee per month. And the cost of this Oncology Navigator program will be paid out of the Self-Insurance Reserve Fund. We have sufficient funds to cover this additional cost. The next two plan enhancements, the OMADA pre-diabetic and the OMADA hypertension plan, provide remote monitoring tools, educational and curriculum tools for individuals to reduce the risk of diabetes or in turn reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. For both of these programs, there is no additional administrative fee. The next two plan enhancements 4 and 5, that we are recommending is the Blue Cross Blue Shield Extended Supply Network and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Coupon Maximizer. The Extended Supply Network creates, on the PPO plan, allows for a 90-day supply option. Members can refill their prescription, secure a 90-day supply at their local in-network pharmacy. And again, there's no administrative fee associated with this, no additional cost added to the plan. The Blue Cross Blue Shield Coupon Maximizer is a coupon program for specialty medications. There's a coupon discount that's applied. It reduces the employee's out-of-pocket expense as well as the expense to the plan. And again, there's no administrative fee associated with this particular plan enhancement. In working with GCG and Blue Cross Blue Shield, based on claims trend, discounts, administrative fees, and contracted rates, the following premiums and premium equivalents are recommended and presented to the board for consideration tonight for the upcoming benefit plan year. Based on proposed rates, program cost, and self-insured reserve levels, the PPO and the high deductible plan will not see any increase in premium rates. However, the HMO plan will see a 2.9% premium rate. That is a fully insured program. The life insurance and disability insurance premiums will remain the same. There'll be no increase for those lines of coverage. And here's a snapshot of the dental premium cost structure. Again, we have two options for employees, the self-funded and the DHMO. And again, there's no increase in these premium rates for the upcoming school year for the dental program. Are there any questions from the board tonight regarding these suggested premium rates and premium equivalent rates for next year?
So I don't have a question, but I just thought I'd share with the board. The philosophy, at least as we talked about it in the committee, is that if we invest in employee health and wellness and make some of these enhancements available to them, it will actually, there'll be a cost reduction to the district and to the employees. So it benefits all of us because they won't be sick as much. And Catherine, I think, could you correct me or make sure I'm giving the accurate numbers? If there's been estimates on how much money the district could save, and if a couple assumptions ring true, two of which are important, and I think one is that we have a continuity of provider. That means we don't change as we're monitoring cost savings. We don't change the insurance provider, and we keep Catherine as long as we can because she's fabulous. And then also we assume that employee engagement is consistent. The OMADA pre-diabetic could save the district $10,500. The hypertension is about it's $9,900. And then the coupon maximizer is $29,510. Are those correct, Catherine? Is that the savings that we're anticipating and estimating? So it's
as we went through the committee, we did see where we could have some estimated savings, but really the overall savings is going to be based on the number of people who participate in the program. Last year when we offered Naturally Slim, we had anticipated maybe 20 people would jump on board to that program. And we were overwhelmed by the fact that 59 people chose to sign up for the program. So we know that we have an interest from the staff. And so we look forward to offering these programs as well, additional enhancements so that they have the tools to make sure they're addressing any of their their medical needs.
So I did a little reading about wellness programs and the efficacy of them and whether they do result in cost savings. And one of the things that I thought might be worth our consideration is how we monitor whether the cost savings come through. And from what I'm reading, it looks like it needs to be, we should see weight and exercise improvements within 18 months. But in order to look at the other metrics, we might want to wait 3 years. So run kind of a 3-year pilot and then look and see, is the district in fact meeting these savings? So might be worth thinking about how we're going to monitor it and which committee or how that will happen, and how we keep track of it, given that some of us will be rolling off the board or could be rolling off the board in 3 years. So just for your radar, that was the philosophy behind adding these enhancements and the reason that we thought it would save the district and the employee money, but of course most importantly, making sure that our employees are working in an environment that they're not getting sick.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for either Mary or Catherine?
Just what's the comparison of the increase to kind of what's happening in the overall market? Just to give us a little bit of a context for that 2.9. Where does it stack up from what you're seeing, outside our district?
Catherine, do you want to take that one?
I will. On the HMO, we have to remember that we have that is a fully insured program. We're on the PPO products that's self-funded. And for a number of years, from the time we began doing self-funded, the importance was making sure that, as Mary referenced, the reserves are to a point that we then can make that decision as to whether or not we're in a healthy plan or not. The Blue Cross plan did come back with initially a 5% rate increase. And through discussions with them, we were able to lower it to 2.9%. As I've shared with all my clients, for the plans who had individuals who were seeking treatment, which the HMO product did, COVID did not diminish their utilization of the plan. So when we have claimants that are running through the plan, that did not stop. But we did, in the committee level, take a look at the months where we saw people who either had elective procedures or who had preventive care. Both of those seemed to drop off. So we didn't have as many claims running through the self-funded plan during that time. So those are components that differ between the two plans. But most importantly, there were claimants within the high deductible plan, and we have ongoing claimants within the HMO, and we have ongoing claimants in the HMO, and that's where that 2.9% came in.
Thank you, and thanks to the committee as well.
Okay, any other follow-up questions? Okay, next would be topics for future agenda items.
Yeah, I have a few to share. Next board meeting will bring you a draft of the 21-22 Board of Ed calendar to look at. Something that you're going to want to think about is location. As you know, this year when we came back on site, we brought ourselves here at Frederick so that we could more easily socially distance for any members of the community who chose to come in. So we can continue here or we can go back to GMS. So that's something I want you to be thinking about. We will bring back the employee benefit plan recommendation as an action item next time as well, along with the pre-K tuition and transportation as an action item. We're also going to have a full day K resolution. So let me explain what that one's about. Excuse me, excuse me. You've heard me share and certainly seen in our new plan, our on-site plan, that it is our intention to return to full day kindergarten next year. That is absolutely the intention, and we've learned from the state that they require us to put forth a full day K resolution. And Mr. Lewis, can you just add another, I think, because you're the one who sent that to me, that is in order to?
It's for EBF reimbursement,
Yeah.
and so they need to know if they're counting our students as 0.5 student or a 1.0 student, and we need to have that sent to the State Board of Education for documentation, along with the resolution and the minutes and such. So there's a few things we need to do, but we certainly want to take advantage of that requirement and be ready for next school year.
Absolutely. And this is a resolution that you actually passed a few years ago when you went to full day kindergarten the first time. And frankly, I'm pretty sure that our community will be glad to see an in-writing, board stamped and approved and signed resolution for full day K. So I think it's a benefit either way. And then finally, not sure yet whether this will be at the next board meeting or the May 5th board meeting, would be the board seating. I think there are just some timing questions that we have to work out as to whether or not we'll be able to do that at the next meeting or if it has to wait until May 5th. So that's all I have. Does anyone have anything to add? Okay.
I wanted to jump back. We had at the last meeting talked about mental health support for families to assess where their kids are. We had postponed that for a future meeting, but didn't designate which meeting. Do we have any idea when that might be able to be on the agenda, or do we need to wait?
So actually, I'm so glad you asked that question, and I think I meant to talk about it in the superintendent report, and it fell off my report. So I interpreted the conversation we had at the last meeting as a request less for the board and more about a way for our parents to be able to assess how their children are doing emotionally. That was our interpretation of what that request was. And so I know that Mrs. Lorenzo is going to be working with some members of her staff to put some materials together to be shared with our parents. It's not an assessment of the district, a district-wide assessment of our students, but rather a way for parents to assess how their own children are doing. So is that what the board is requesting, or is the board requesting something else? I guess that's a question for all of our board members.
Yeah, I guess I took it as we were being able to put together and have a place for them to go for resources and for the assessment of their own
Right.
child. Is that correct, Christy?
It was just, yes, that was it. And by putting it on the agenda, it can even just be in the superintendent's report, just where are those? And I got some feedback that that would be useful to parents. So if we just know where it, or in a communication or whatever. Just didn't know if we wanted to talk about it at the meeting, or if it was just a resource that would be available to our families through other communications.
So I think between now and the end of the school year, we'll be putting some information together. We'll share it out with our families and share it with the board, either prior to sharing it with families in general or afterwards, one way or the other.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, and then the other thing was, do we need to talk about, or when should we talk about the ARP funding and prioritizing that? And is that a board conversation, or is that not?
I think it's a district-wide conversation for sure.
Yeah.
You know, right now, you know, we're actually working our way through thinking about our various pockets of funding that we've received. But yes, we will need to talk about all of that funding and what are the best ways to go about making decisions about what we'll do with those funds. But again, we aren't able to even begin accessing those funds until July 1st, and then we have until 2024, right? September 2024 to expend all of it.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
that's what I was mentioning earlier, that we're waiting for more information from the state. The guidance that we've received so far is that at least 20% needs to be spent on learning loss, but not that much information yet provided as to what that really means. And that they continue to recommend that we not spend it on projects and situations that wouldn't be sustainable past 2024. So, you know, we don't want to go too far down the road really until we have more information from the state.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for future? Okay. Next, we're up to public comments. Did we have any public comments from the Google document?
We have one. I'll go ahead and read it. This is from Samantha Larson, who wrote, just a moment, let me just reconfigure it so I can, okay, there we go. Regarding ESY, why was the decision made for the extended school year to be fully remote, given that we are currently moving to full-time in-person learning in the middle of the spring? This program serves one of the most vulnerable populations in the district. Switching them back to fully remote would be a difficult transition for many and a logistical hurdle for most. Regarding pre-K, given that the board is going to submit a resolution for full-day K, will there be a similar commitment from the district board to ensure that the pre-K students are back in school full-time in the fall? And those were the only public comments.
Okay. I just have one public comment since I missed being able to give the board report at the beginning. Just like to congratulate those that re-ran for the school board and welcome our new member when she does join us, Miss Michelle Anderson. Appears to be the fourth elected official for our new board. But I'd like to congratulate everybody who ran and was elected, and look forward to continuing working with you all. Next we have is we need a closed session, so I need a motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
LaCroix,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see the rest of the board in closed session.